I'm not the type who goes looking for a fight. Never have been. But when someone mistakes my silence for weakness, when they think they can step on me without consequences, well, they should have paid closer attention to how this world really works. The thing about karma, sometimes it needs a little push. And I've always had steady hands. My name is Emily Rourke. And at 34, I'd learned that corporate America has its own ecosystem, one where predators often wear Armani suits and prey gets devoured in conference rooms with panoramic views. I'd been swimming in these waters for 12 years, the last 5 at Verve Inc., a mid-sized tech company nestled in Charlotte's gleaming business district. From the outside, Verve looked like any other modern workplace. Open floor plans, kombucha on tap, ping-pong tables nobody used, and motivational quotes plastered on glass walls. Collaboration creates innovation, one proclaimed in bold Helvetica. What a joke. The only thing we collaborated on was backstabbing. I'd worked my way up to senior marketing strategist through what I'd foolishly believed was merit. Late nights perfecting campaigns, weekends analyzing market trends, always delivering beyond expectations. My annual reviews glowed, my metrics soared, yet somehow, I remained frozen in place while others glided past me on invisible escalators. The office culture was what I'd call Southern hostile, all sugar on the surface with poison underneath. People here had mastered the art of the compliment-insult combo. Oh, Emily, you're so dedicated. I could never spend my weekends in the office like you do. Family time is just too precious. Translation: you have no life. And we all pity you. 3 people had perfected this art form to a science. First, there was Kara Wilkins, our PR team lead, 37, divorced, with the kind of aggressive beauty that came from expensive procedures and religious gym attendance. She had this way of touching people's arms when she talked, leaning in like she was sharing secrets. People ate it up. What they didn't see was how she'd circle back to your ideas in meetings, presenting them with just enough twist to make them hers. She'd even perfected the concerned head tilt when called out. Oh, I thought we were building on Emily's concept together. Collaboration, right? Then came Noah Briggs, my supposed peer in the marketing department, 29, Harvard MBA that he mentioned within 5 minutes of any conversation. Noah was the golden boy, quick with a joke, always ready with Starbucks runs, everyone's buddy. He had this boyish charm that made people forget he'd thrown them under the bus until they felt the tire marks. His specialty was the preemptive strike. When projects went south, Noah had already planted seeds of doubt about everyone else's contributions. Finally, Ashley Trent, the executive assistant to our department VP. 26 and hungry for power she hadn't earned yet. Ashley controlled information like a Soviet spy, deciding what made it up the chain and what got conveniently lost. She had dirt on everyone because people underestimated her, treating her like furniture while discussing sensitive matters. Her weapon of choice was the Whisper Network, starting rumors that spread like wildfire before anyone could trace them back to the source. For years, I'd navigated around them like rocks in a stream, focusing on my work, believing that excellence would eventually win. I kept my head down, hit my targets, avoided the politics. I thought staying neutral would keep me safe. I was wrong. The thing about predators is they don't respect boundaries. They see restraint as weakness. And in the ecosystem of Verve Inc., I'd just painted a target on my back without realizing it. The water I'd been swimming in wasn't just murky, it was full of sharks. And they'd been circling for longer than I knew. The morning it all began started like any other. September rain pelted the office windows as I nursed my 3rd cup of coffee, reviewing metrics for our Q3 campaign. The Evolve with Verve initiative had been my baby. 6 months of research, focus groups, and careful positioning. I'd argued against the aggressive timeline from day one, documenting my concerns in emails and meeting minutes. The campaign needed another month of testing, minimum. But Kara had pushed hard in the executive meetings I wasn't invited to. We need to be first to market, she'd insisted, according to Noah, who'd been suspiciously supportive of my concerns at the time. Emily's being too cautious. Sometimes you just have to leap. So we leaped, and we crashed. The Monday morning massacre began with an email marked Urgent Campaign Performance Review. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. The numbers were brutal. Engagement down 67%, conversion rates in free fall, ad spend hemorrhaging with nothing to show for it. But it was the attached email thread that made my blood run cold. There, in black and white, was an email from me, my address, my signature, enthusiastically endorsing the accelerated timeline. I've reviewed the data thoroughly and believe we're ready to launch. Let's show the market what Tallyverve can do. I'd never written those words. The meeting that followed was a carefully orchestrated execution. VP of Marketing, David Morrison, sat at the head of the conference table, his face a mask of disappointment. Kara flanked him, wearing her concerned colleague expression. Noah sat across from me, studying his laptop screen with fascinating intensity. Ashley perched in the corner, taking notes that I knew would be selectively edited later. Emily, David began, sliding a printed copy of the email across the table. Can you explain this? I stared at the paper, my mind racing. The formatting was perfect. The tone matched mine. Even the little dash I used before my name was there. But I knew I'd never sent this. I didn't write this, I managed, hearing how weak it sounded even to my own ears. Kara's hand fluttered to her chest. Emily, we're all under pressure, but denying documented communications? That's concerning. Noah finally looked up, his face a masterpiece of practiced worry. I remember you mentioning you were excited about the launch, maybe in the rush. You forgot? I have my original emails, I said, reaching for my phone. I can show you. I'm afraid it has already pulled the server records, David interrupted. This came directly from your account, timestamp verified. Are you suggesting someone hacked your email to send enthusiasm about your own project? The trap was elegant in its simplicity. Who would believe someone forged an email to make me look supportive? It was the kind of gaslight that left you questioning your own sanity. The formal warning came that afternoon. The words blurred together. Accountability. Judgment. Performance improvement plan. My spotless record, tarnished. The promotion I'd been working toward, evaporated. But it was Ashley's stage whisper to the intern by the coffee machine that clarified everything. I heard she's been under a lot of personal stress. Sometimes people create alternate narratives to cope with failure. By end of day, the entire office believed I was either incompetent or delusional. Maybe both. I sat in my car that evening, rain drumming on the roof, staring at the printed email. Someone had played me perfectly. They'd studied my writing style, my habits, my vulnerabilities. This wasn't random office politics. This was targeted, deliberate, personal. The smart move would be to start job hunting, cut my losses, move on. But as I sat there, something cold and sharp crystallized in my chest. They'd made one crucial mistake. They'd assumed I was weak because I was quiet. They'd mistaken my professionalism for passivity. They were about to learn the difference between being peaceful and being harmless. I wasn't harmless. Not anymore. I didn't explode. I didn't rage. I went home, poured a glass of wine, and started taking notes. The first rule of war is to know your enemy. The second is to never let them know you're fighting back. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a student of human behavior, specifically the behavior of 3 humans who'd made the mistake of declaring war on someone with nothing left to lose. I started small, arriving earlier, staying later, not to work harder, but to observe. I mapped their routines like a wildlife researcher studying predators. Kara always printed sensitive documents at 7:47 a.m. before most people arrived. Noah used the same password variation for everything, his birthday plus his college graduation year. Ashley took personal calls in the stairwell, believing the concrete blocked sound. It didn't. My apartment became a war room. I bought books on organizational psychology, manipulation tactics, and digital forensics, YouTube became my university. Tutorials on data recovery, email authentication, metadata analysis. I even reached out to Marcus, a friend from college who'd gone into cybersecurity, framing my questions as theoretical curiosities about office security. Hypothetically, I'd asked over drinks. If someone wanted to forge an email from a colleague, what would they need? Marcus had laughed. Access to their computer for about 30 seconds, or their password. Most corporate systems keep backup logs, though. The real trick would be altering those. He'd shown me how email headers worked, how to spot inconsistencies, where backup servers stored data that most IT departments ignored. I started documenting everything, every interaction, every meeting, every casual conversation by the water cooler. My phone became a recording device, perfectly legal in North Carolina's one-party consent state. Cloud storage filled with screenshots, audio files, and something even more valuable, patterns. Kara's pattern was vanity. She couldn't resist taking credit, even when it required obvious lies. Her weakness was her need to be seen as brilliant. Noah's pattern was cowardice. He only struck when he felt safe, always ensuring plausible deniability. His weakness was his assumption that everyone was as self-serving as him. Ashley's pattern was insecurity. She hoarded information to feel powerful, spreading rumors to keep others off balance. Her weakness was her belief that assistants were invisible. I discovered the forged email's truth during a late-night deep dive into our shared drive's version history. Hidden in the metadata was a trace. The document had been created on Noah's machine, then uploaded from a generic conference room computer. But the smoking gun was a recovery file from 3 weeks before the official email date, showing practice versions where they'd tried to mimic my writing style, sloppy, arrogant. They'd gotten comfortable in their success, which made them vulnerable. I also studied the company's real power structure, not the org chart, but the invisible web of who had lunch with whom, whose opinions carried weight, who controlled access to what. I learned that David Morrison was under pressure from the board about departmental efficiency, that our HR director, Patricia Nguyen, had a zero-tolerance policy for ethics violations after a scandal at her previous company, that our IT security manager, James Park, prided himself on system integrity and had been pushing for stricter access controls. Every organization has pressure points. I mapped each one. The most valuable intelligence came from unexpected sources. The janitor who mentioned seeing Kara in my cubicle after hours. The IT help desk tech who casually mentioned Noah had requested password reset privileges he shouldn't have. The cafeteria worker who'd overheard Ashley bragging about teaching someone a lesson. By week 4, I had everything I needed: evidence, vulnerabilities, pressure points, and most importantly, a plan that would unravel their careers with the same methodical precision they'd used to attack mine. They thought they'd broken me with that forged email. They were wrong. They'd simply taught me the rules of their game, and I'd always been a quick learner. The time for defense was over. Now came the fun part. I smiled at my reflection in my laptop screen, seeing someone I barely recognized, someone harder, smarter, infinitely more dangerous. "You wanted to play?" I whispered to the empty room. "Let's play." The beauty of revenge is in the details. 9 moves, each precisely calibrated, each building on the last. I didn't want them destroyed all at once. That would be merciful. I wanted them to feel the walls closing in, to experience the same slow suffocation they'd given me. Move 1. The plagiarism. Trap. Kara's hunger for recognition made her predictable. I crafted a brilliant campaign proposal, innovative, bold, guaranteed to impress. But I didn't present it. Instead, I left breadcrumbs, draft printouts in recycling bins, screenshots accidentally visible on my monitor when she walked by. Within a week, she presented my strategy in the executive meeting, almost word for word. What she didn't know was that I'd lifted the entire concept from a Brazilian agency's award-winning campaign from 3 years ago, translated and slightly modified. The day after her triumphant presentation, I forwarded the original campaign to David Morrison with a concerned note. This looked familiar. So I did some digging, thought you should know. The fallout was immediate. Kara scrambled, claiming she'd been inspired by the work. But the damage was done. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. Move. 2. The Whisper Network Reversal. Ashley loved her rumors, so I gave her one worth spreading. I planted a seed during a staged phone call in the stairwell, knowing she lingered there. Yes, I heard about the audit too. Something about expense account irregularities? No, I don't know whose. Within hours, Ashley had spread the rumor, adding her own embellishments. By day's end, half the office was paranoid about their expense reports. When David announced a routine quarterly review the next week, which I'd known about from reading meeting minutes, Ashley became the girl who cried, "Wolf." HR received 3 complaints about her toxic gossip. Move. 3. The digital trail. Noah's password habits made him vulnerable. During a helpful moment, I'd watched him log into the shared drive, memorizing his keystrokes. Late one night, using a VPN and a burner laptop from a coffee shop, I accessed his account. I didn't steal or delete, too obvious. Instead, I simply downloaded our quarterly financial reports. Multiple times. At 2 a.m., when its automated security scan flagged the unusual activity. Noah couldn't explain why he'd been accessing sensitive financial data in the middle of the night. His stammered excuses only made him look guilty of something, even if no one could figure out what. Move. 4. The permission slip. I'd discovered Kara had been using her admin access to read other people's emails, a fireable offense. But proving it required finesse, I created a honeypot, an email thread with a fake external contact discussing a revolutionary new partnership. I mentioned specific details that would be irresistible to someone trying to stay ahead. Sure enough, Kara took the bait. In the next team meeting, she casually brought up ideas that aligned perfectly with my fictional partnership. I let her dig herself deeper before innocently asking, "That's interesting. Kara, it sounds exactly like the confidential discussion I've been having with Vector Solutions. How did you know about that?" Her face went white, David's eyes narrowed. The IT audit that followed revealed years of unauthorized email access. Move. 5. The live demo disaster. During our quarterly stakeholder presentation, Kara always inflated PR metrics. This time, I came prepared. While she presented her doctored numbers, I pulled up real-time analytics on my laptop, connected to the main screen, to take notes. "Sorry, Kara," I interrupted with practiced confusion. "I'm seeing different numbers here. The live dashboard shows we're down 23%, not up 15%. She stuttered, tried to explain, but the damage was done. The stakeholders saw the real data compared to her slides. Her credibility evaporated in real time. Move 6. The accidental reply. Ashley had been cultivating a special relationship with David, full of flirty undertones and after-hours meetings. I didn't have to create anything, just wait for the right moment. When she sent one of her typically suggestive emails to him, copying me about an urgent project discussion at 9 p.m., I helped Karma along. I crafted a response about the project, then accidentally hit reply, all to the entire department instead of just David. My professional response highlighted the inappropriate timing and tone of her request. "I'm not comfortable meeting outside office hours for non-emergency matters. Perhaps we can discuss this during normal business hours." The implication was clear to everyone. HR had a new file to open. Move. 7. The handwriting analysis. I'd kept every document where someone had forged my signature or initials. During a compliance training session, I innocently asked about document verification processes. What happens if someone suspects forgery? Patricia from HR mentioned they took such accusations seriously. Perfect. I submitted my collection for analysis, expressing concern about identity theft. The investigation revealed multiple instances of forged approvals on Noah's project reports, my initials approving budgets I'd never seen. Move 8. The patent pending. Before leaving those campaign drafts for Kara to steal, I'd done something she'd never expect from uncreative Emily. I'd filed for intellectual property protection on the core concepts through a design registration service, dated weeks before her presentation. When she tried to submit her campaign for an industry award, the submission was flagged for IP violation. The embarrassment of being caught stealing ideas, again, was worse than any formal punishment. Move 9. The anonymous drop. I compiled everything, every forged document, every unauthorized access log, every ethics violation, into a single, devastating file. But I didn't send it from my account. Instead, I used an anonymous whistleblower portal that Patricia had mentioned the company maintained. The subject line was simple: systematic fraud in marketing department, evidence enclosed. I watched from my desk as security arrived, as boxes were packed, as 3 careers imploded in slow motion. Throughout it all, I maintained my helpful smile, my concerned expression, my supportive demeanor. Such a shame, I told anyone who asked. They seemed so talented. No one suspected the quiet one. After all, I'd been their victim, hadn't I? The dominoes fell faster than I'd anticipated. Kara was the first to break. The Monday after the IP violation news broke, she stormed into David's office, voice shrill enough to pierce the glass walls. We couldn't hear the words, but we could see the gestures, wild, desperate, accusatory. She emerged 20 minutes later, security escort in tow, banker's box in her arms. Her usually perfect makeup was smeared, her power suit wrinkled. As she passed my desk, our eyes met for just a moment. I saw recognition there, not of what I'd done, but of what she'd become. Exposed. Finished. By Wednesday, the investigation into Noah's financial report access had expanded. Its deep dive revealed more than late-night downloads. They found altered datasets, manipulated timestamps, and a trail of revised documents that painted a picture of systematic deception going back 2 years. The killer blow came when they discovered he'd been selling our client contact lists to competitors, a felony in our industry. I was refilling my coffee when they led him out in handcuffs. The Golden Boy's Harvard MBA couldn't save him from federal charges. He kept muttering about being set up, about someone orchestrating everything. But who would believe him? He'd cried wolf too many times, thrown too many people under buses. His paranoid rambling only made him look more guilty. Ashley lasted the longest, until Friday. The anonymous whistleblower report had triggered a comprehensive HR review. They found the inappropriate communications with David, but worse, they uncovered her side business, selling insider information about upcoming campaigns to rival agencies. She'd been smart about it, using encrypted apps and cryptocurrency, but not smart enough to hide the lifestyle her assistant's salary couldn't support. The meeting where they announced the restructuring was a masterclass in corporate sanitization. David Morrison stood at the front of our conference room, his face grave. Patricia from HR flanked him, wearing the expression of someone who'd seen too much. As you may have noticed, we've had some personnel changes this week. David began. I want to assure everyone that Tallyverve takes ethics violations seriously. We've conducted thorough investigations and taken appropriate action. Someone raised their hand. Is it true Noah was arrested? Patricia stepped forward. We can't comment on ongoing legal matters. What I can say is that we're implementing new security protocols and ethics training to ensure nothing like this happens again. The room buzzed with whispers. 3 major players gone in 1 week. Conspiracy theories flew, industrial espionage, coordinated fraud ring, even speculation about a mob connection. The truth was simpler and more elegant. They'd destroyed themselves. I'd just helped them along. I also want to address the elephant in the room. David continued. We owe Emily Rourke an apology. The investigation revealed she was the target of coordinated harassment and fraud. The campaign failure she was blamed for was the result of deliberate sabotage. Heads turned toward me. I kept my expression carefully neutral. Surprised, hurt, but graciously accepting. I'm just glad the truth came out, I said quietly. I hope we can all move forward from this. The sympathy was suffocating. Colleagues who'd avoided me for weeks suddenly wanted to take me to lunch. to apologize for believing the lies, to assure me they'd never doubted my integrity. I accepted their overtures with grace, playing the role of the vindicated victim to perfection. Behind closed doors, the damage spread like cancer. The investigation revealed a network of corruption that touched a dozen employees. Some were fired quietly, others transferred. The entire department was gutted and rebuilt. Trust evaporated. People started password protecting their staplers, encrypting grocery lists, seeing conspiracies in every whispered conversation. I watched it all with quiet satisfaction. They'd wanted to play games in the shadows. Now they could live there. Paranoid and alone. The best part? Even as their worlds crumbled, they never suspected me. Kara blamed Noah. Noah blamed Ashley. Ashley blamed everyone. In their narcissism, they couldn't conceive that quiet. Professional Emily had orchestrated their downfall. They'd each thought they were the smartest person in the room. They'd forgotten that the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming. By month's end, the marketing department was unrecognizable. New faces, new policies, new culture. The toxic ecosystem that had thrived for years was dead, replaced by something cleaner. Maybe not perfect, but better. And me? I thrived in the new environment. Without the constant sabotage, my work shone, my ideas were heard. My contributions recognized. The promotion I'd been denied came with a 30% raise and a corner office. Kara's old space, actually. I had it completely redecorated. No trace of her remained. The aftermath was a study in psychological warfare without a single shot fired. Kara tried to resurrect her career at 3 different agencies, each time, just as she reached final interviews. Anonymous tips about her plagiarism history would surface. Not from me, I'd planted seeds that grew their own gardens. Former colleagues she'd stolen from over the years had finally found their voices. The industry has a long memory, and karma had been accumulating interest. Last I heard, she was working as a freelance consultant from her apartment. Her LinkedIn profile, a monument to past glories that no one quite believed anymore. The woman who'd once commanded rooms now couldn't get her calls returned. Noah's fall was more public, more complete. Federal charges tend to follow you. His Harvard MBA became a punchline. His golden boy image tarnished beyond repair. The legal fees drained his savings. The scandal made him unemployable in any position involving financial responsibility, which, in marketing, was everything. His wife left him. His country club revoked his membership. The man who'd built his identity on being better than everyone else was reduced to teaching community college marketing courses part-time. I saw him once at a grocery store, buying generic brands with coupons. He looked through me like I was invisible. Perhaps, to him, I always had been. Ashley's destruction was quieter, but no less complete. Selling corporate secrets had made her toxic in Charlotte's tight-knit business community. She tried moving to Atlanta, then Dallas. But background checks are thorough these days. Every application ended the same way. Promises to call that never came. The whisper network she'd once wielded turned on her. Administrative assistants across the city knew her name, her face, her reputation. The girl who'd traded in secrets found herself locked out of every building that mattered. But the true carnage was psychological. None of them knew who had orchestrated their downfall. The uncertainty ate at them like acid. Kara sent paranoid emails to former colleagues, accusing everyone and no one. Noah started a blog about corporate conspiracy theories that read like the manifesto of a broken mind. Ashley became a ghost. Her social media accounts abandoned, her presence erased. They'd turned on each other in the end, just as I'd known they would. Predators without prey always devour themselves. The office felt different now. Lighter. People collaborated genuinely, shared ideas without fear, celebrated each other's successes. The culture of paranoia they'd cultivated had died with their careers. It was almost enough to make me believe in fresh starts. Almost. Because I knew the truth. In every organization, in every group. There are those who mistake kindness for weakness, who see collaboration as opportunity for exploitation. I'd learned to recognize them now. these corporate vampires who fed on others' efforts. But they'd also learned something, even if they didn't realize it. The story of the marketing department's implosion had become legend, whispered in break rooms and happy hours across the city. 3 careers destroyed in a week. Investigations that revealed years of corruption. Anonymous tips that exposed every dirty secret. The message was clear: be careful who you step on. I never spoke of it. When people brought up that terrible week, I'd shake my head sadly, express sympathy for everyone involved, wonder aloud how things had gotten so toxic. I was just Emily Rourke, the quiet one who'd survived the storm, who'd been vindicated by the truth. They'd never know about the hours of planning, the careful documentation, the surgical precision of each strike. They'd never know that the anonymous whistleblower sat among them, sipping coffee and reviewing spreadsheets like nothing had happened. And that was the most delicious part, not the revenge itself, but the secret. The knowledge that I dismantled 3 lives as methodically as they'd tried to dismantle mine, and no one would ever know. In the corporate jungle, the apex predator isn't the lion who roars. It's the snake in the grass that strikes once, perfectly, then disappears into the shadows. They'd taught me that lesson. I'd simply been the better student. 6 months later, I stood on the rooftop terrace of our new building. Tallyverve had relocated to a gleaming tower in uptown Charlotte, a fresh start in glass and steel. The promotion had come with more than just Kara's old office. I was now director of integrated marketing, overseeing a team of 12. The city sprawled below me, afternoon sun painting the skyline gold. I held a glass of champagne from the team celebration I'd just left. My latest campaign had exceeded projections by 200%. Success, it turned out, was remarkably easy when no one was actively sabotaging you. My phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Ashley Trent had viewed my profile. Again. The 8th time this month, I'd noticed them all. Kara's fake accounts trying to dig up dirt. Noah's desperate connection requests from his community college email. Ashley's obsessive checking of my career progression. They were still looking for answers, still trying to understand how their empires had crumbled so completely. The not knowing was destroying them faster than any revenge I could have planned. Every success I posted, every promotion announced, every industry accolade must have burned like acid in their wounds. I thought about blocking them. But why? Let them watch. Let them see what they'd tried to destroy, flourishing beyond their wildest dreams. Emily. David Morrison appeared beside me, looking healthier than he had in years. The departmental cleansing had lifted a weight from his shoulders, too. Great party. You've really turned things around. We all have, I replied, always careful to share credit. It's amazing what a healthy culture can accomplish. He studied me for a moment, and I wondered if he suspected. David was sharper than he appeared, had survived corporate politics longer than most. But then he smiled and clinked his glass against mine. To fresh starts, he said. To justice. I countered softly. He paused, then nodded slowly. That too. After he left, I returned to my contemplation of the city. Somewhere out there, 3 people who'd thought they were untouchable were learning what happened when you pushed the wrong person too far. They'd created their own destroyer, teaching me through cruelty exactly how to dismantle them. I thought about the person I'd been a year ago, trusting, collaborative, believing that good work spoke for itself, that Emily was gone, burned away in the crucible of their manipulation. What remained was someone harder, smarter, infinitely more dangerous. Was I proud of what I'd done? Pride was too simple a word. I was satisfied, complete. The scales had been balanced with mathematical precision. My new assistant appeared at the door, young, eager, reminding me of myself years ago. Ms. Rourke, the team's wondering if you'll join them for drinks. Tell them I'll be right down, I said, finishing my champagne. As I turned to leave, I took one last look at the city. The sun was setting now, painting everything in shades of amber and shadow. Somewhere in those shadows, 3 former colleagues were living with the consequences of their choices. They'd probably spend years wondering who had orchestrated their downfall, checking over their shoulders, jumping at shadows. Good. They'd wanted to teach me how the world really worked. Lesson learned. I smoothed my dress, checked my reflection in the glass door. Professional. Composed. Harmless in appearance. The same Emily Rourke everyone thought they knew. I don't go looking for fights, I whispered to my reflection, echoing the thought I'd had all those months ago. But when someone brings one to my door, I make sure it's the last mistake they ever make. The rooftop door closed behind me with a soft click. In the elevator down, I allowed myself one small, private smile. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. They're wrong. It's best served invisibly, professionally, and with such devastating precision that your enemies destroy themselves wondering how it happened. I'd never tell anyone what I'd done. The secret would go with me to the grave. But sometimes, late at night, I'd remember their faces, the shock, the desperation, the dawning realization that their actions had consequences. And I'd sleep like a baby. Thank you so much for listening to this story of corporate karma and silent revenge. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and share your thoughts on Emily's journey. Have you ever dealt with toxic colleagues? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments.